I wanted to talk a little bit about the challenges you've overcome as well on your journey, and we wanted to speak about your dad as well. I know it's a hard subject.
It is hard. So I guess what should I talk? Do we want to talk about my dad first?
Yeah,
God.
I mean, he's such a great character, and obviously I met him.
Yeah, you met my dad, and he's he was very special, and just about. I mean, like when I say special, it was not like he was like, oh my God, everybody loved. I mean, everybody did love him, but like obviously, like anybody else, he had his bad sides. Yeah, I mean, he had myeloma, so that is a type of blood and bone cancer for anyone who doesn't know. And he had it for 7 years. So he had it was more of keeping it at bay. You could never cure it. So we had a lot of treatment, and and it was the treatment at the beginning was all right actually. Like I'd taken to his chemo, and then he would be fine. Then he'd have 6 months off, etc. So that was kind of all right. But it just obviously started to go downhill, and I don't think the pandemic helped at all. I mean, I'm sure that is the same for many, many cancer sufferers. I mean, he still had his treatments. We would. I mean, one good thing about it was you could drive down to UCL, because we were in Hertfordshire. We could drive down to UCLH in half an hour sometimes.
No traffic.
I know, no traffic because there was no one around, so that was great. It was just really tough, and I moved in with my mum and dad to help out, and then when the pandemic hit, so my partner is in care, so he looks after he did at the time, he looked after mentally ill people. Now now he looks after disabled children and mentally ill children, and so I couldn't see him because I had to stay with my dad, so I didn't see him for like 3 months, and he lives around the corner, so that was tough. But it was more tough for Dad as well, because he was an active person, and he loved to go traipse around, because we're in Welwyn Garden City. He used to love to traipse around the charity shops. The charity shops, and pick up a load of crap that Mum would be like, what's
Not
this?
more.
Yeah, believe when he passed, we found a lot more than we were bargaining for. Anyway, but yeah, he would just like he was a Conservative councillor. I mean, his politics did not ally with mine, but and he was like a member of the community, and obviously, like when the pandemic hit, Boris Johnson said that anyone suffering from myeloma had to stay in the house, like they weren't even allowed out for exercise walks, and like he actually used the words myeloma. There was 2, so I was like, whoa. Famous, do you know what I mean? Like that was, it was, of all. So obviously that was enough to set Dad off. So he didn't leave the house other than to go down to the hospital for 2 years, and he didn't exercise in the house. We had a running machine, and I dragged it. I mean, running machine. It was a running machine, but it was basically used for storage. He just chucked. It was just had a lot of boxes on it in the garage. Probably was from a second-hand shop. No, it wasn't. Anyway, I dragged it into the house, and I was like, right, Mum, Dad, this is for you. So I set it up in one of the rooms in the house. Put a big TV in front of it. I was like, use it. And he didn't, and he didn't use it, and I think that contributed to his swifter demise than I would have preferred. Obviously, like he, but then towards the end, he was like, so he died in December last year, so it's not even a year yet, and he like kept fainting and stuff. So like the cancer was obviously getting worse, and he had to go to hospital. He was in and out of hospital for a bit, and then the last one, I was in hospital for about 6 weeks, and by the end of it, he couldn't. I went in to see him on my birthday, actually. So it's my birthday next week, and I went to see him on my birthday this time last year, and he said to me how he wished he'd listened to me about using the running machine just to walk, like to keep his muscles working and stuff, because after 6 weeks in hospital, he had lost the use of his legs. He couldn't walk anymore. He couldn't hold up his weight, do you know what I mean? Not even with the Zimmer, and so therefore he couldn't go to the toilet on his own. So by the time they released him at the end of October, it was just the beginning of the end, really. And so he came home. And he was like in a room downstairs. Like he was always adamant he didn't want to be in that room because that's where his mum lived when she was, in her final years. So she died at 96, same as the Queen. And Dame Angela Lansbury. Anyway, so he didn't want to be in that room, but he was. There was nothing he could do about it. But he had, the NHS were amazing. This hospice in Wellington City called Isabel Hospice, they were amazing as well. He had carers 4 times a day. But it was hard. It was hard to see. He was, he was done. He didn't want to be like that. And I didn't want to see him like that. And obviously, I know a lot of people who have, parents with Alzheimer's and, that's just the worst. He had his memories and stuff. So it was almost like he was still him, but he just couldn't function. And then, I would have to help him in the middle of the night, get on the toilet and stuff. And it was just like he was such a. I know everyone always says that, such a proud man, but he was. He was a proud man. He was always a life and soul. As I said, you've met him, and
he's a character.
Yeah, exactly. Always a character. That's where I got it from. Like, he was just so rude and so always had a quip ready to go, which was usually foul. My partner just loved him because he was just they could laugh at the same disgusting joke.